Cheryshev, Chuba, Cheryshev's not stopped. Denis Cheryshev, oh my word! That is quite something! The boy's a star!
Denis Cheryshev lit up Sochi on a night where Russia ended up bowing out of the World Cup on penalties. What an effort by them trying to steal the limelight away from the other nations in this World Cup. A rendition that will be remembered by a host nation with such a low ranking. Can you guess who else is taking away some attention when you're really thinking about it? The English Premier League. They have the most players in the semi-finals by club. 9 for Tottenham, 7 for Manchester City, Manchester United, and Chelsea, and 4 for Liverpool. All the eyes are on the country of England, of course, equaling the record of 11 goals in this World Cup like they did in 1966. And if the stars are aligned, is this World Cup coming home? This is 12 Yards Out. I'm Robert Bellardi with Devitt Imrie and Nelson Santo, bringing to you the recap of the quarters and the preview of the semifinals. Be sure to tune in to France against Belgium tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and Croatia against England on Wednesday at 2 p.m. as well. The consolation game is on Saturday at 10 a.m., and the World Cup final is at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Boys, let's get it started.
Well, yeah, I just want to start off with that Denis Cheryshev goal. That boy really is a star. We won't start off with that in the show, but I just want to give him some shine. He's been having an incredible World Cup, and it'll be very shocking to me if a big team doesn't come calling.
Yeah, what a banger that goal was, as you can tell by the call. It's a great quarterfinals, in my opinion. A few surprises, I guess, too, right? And let's get into it.
Out of all the quarterfinals, which one was the most entertaining from all your points of view?
I'm going to have to give it to that Russia versus Croatia game. I think it far exceeded expectations. I don't think many people thought it would be the match that it was, but we saw Russia take the lead on a beautiful goal, and then Croatia show their character once again by fighting back and and then going into extra time, we saw 2 goals from each side, where we rarely see that now. You know, most teams just mail it in, wait for penalties, and once it goes to extra time or once you go down, it's usually tough to come back. So credit Russia for that as well. And then another great penalty shootout ends with Rakitic being the coolest player on the pitch.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to go with that Brazil-Belgium game, because I was watching it. I was always interested, because there was always, they were both attacking, a very open game, and for me, that game was probably the most entertaining out of the 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you with that Brazil-Belgium game. I really felt that the intensity began from the moment that the ball was kicked off in the middle of the pitch. And when Belgium took the lead, I thought, oh, maybe there's something that's going to be coming from now on within this match. It's going to get more and more entertaining as the match went on. And then De Bruyne, what a hit. That thing had to have taken off to at least
so
70 kilometers an hour. So clean. You just saw the ball was arrowed into the bottom corner. And from that point on, where Brazil looked stunned in a way, and they kept pushing forward, I guess, too far forward all the time. They kept trying too hard, and you never really saw Brazil do that. You never see Brazil squander so many opportunities in one single match.
Yeah, it was Thibaut Courtois who really stole the show in that one, making 20 saves on the day. It was incredible.
Yeah, he was on fire, because I don't know, for a Brazilian team, I've never seen a team like that miss so many opportunities. Thiago Silva hit the post right in the beginning, and imagine if that one in the game could have been completely different. It's just weird to see them miss so many opportunities, especially with the firepower that they have up top.
Yeah, Brazil attempted 27 shots on target, and just like you said, Devin, Courtois was incredible that game, and a good performance by Courtois really is going to boost his confidence, probably his transfer value as well, considering that there's always been rumors surrounding him and Eden Hazard leaving Chelsea. It's important for the Belgium nation to be confident going forward with a goalkeeper that is going to bail them out if needed be. And also the defense from Belgium deserve a little bit of credit. I mean, we have been critical towards that defense being too lazy at times or a little bit too complacent within that back line, and they've conceded some goals that can be questionable, so to speak. I mean, now they're looking more of a cohesive unit. They're looking like, you know, this team, something can actually happen. And we'll get into more of that of our predictions of Belgium against France in the next round. So we think that, what do we think in terms of that particular game, Brazil-Belgium. Do you both see Belgium going to the final at this present moment, considering how they are playing, or is it going to be a little bit of a bitter disappointment?
Yeah, I had to disagree with your previous statement. I think this Belgium defense is still very vulnerable.
Yeah.
I still don't have enough faith in them, and that's why I will be choosing France to go through. But they put in a great performance on the day to really stump Brazil and really just open up the game for De Bruyne and Hazard to flourish. And I was very harsh on Lukaku last week, but on the De Bruyne goal, he was the catalyst in that. He started the quick counter, fighting off defenders and using his skill and his determination to get the ball to De Bruyne right before he was about to be tackled. So it was a great game for them. It's just really sad to see Neymar put in the performance he did. He didn't play up to his expectations this whole World Cup, and he said on his Instagram that it was the saddest moment of his career. But he needs to use this tournament as a learning lesson for his career moving forward, not just play-wise, but also as a man and as who you're going to be as a player moving forward. So yeah, Brazil was probably the most disappointing team to me besides Germany at the World Cup. With Brazil leaving, obviously, and Brazil and Uruguay leaving on the same day, it obviously means a European nation will win once again in Europe. So that curse is not being broken this year.
I think we all had Brazil to win the World Cup, didn't we? Before the tournament started.
I think you guys did. I didn't.
You didn't? I did. And them going out like this was pretty disappointing. I still think Germany was probably the biggest disappointment out of all the teams. But at the end of the day, Belgium got a little bit lucky with the own goal, right? That kind of helped them in their favor. That opened their game.
That was awful for Fernandinho.
Yeah.
It looks like he closed his eyes at the front post. And when you're standing at the front post, or not the front post, but at the front of the
close
six.
To the front.
Yeah, at the front of the
post.
six, you're that first defender right on a corner. And you have to be strong. You have
yeah.
to be alert, because there's so many things that can fly. Defenders can fly, or attackers, so he can fly past you.
The other thing is on that goal,
alert.
it really wasn't his fault, because he's going up to challenge for the header, and Company heads it onto his shoulder, goes off of him and into the net. I mean, you can't fault the guy for that. That's a little bit of a bad bounce in terms of being in that position and challenging for the header. I mean, it sucks in that way. I mean, Fernandinho should be not to blame at all within the Brazilian fans.
Yeah,
there shouldn't
disagree.
be fingers being pointed, in my opinion.
You have to be commanding when you're standing there. You know, as the first line of defense on a corner, you have to be commanding, and you have to be aware of what's going on around you.
But look at who you're going up against. Fernandinho is not as physically built as Vincent Kompany.
Then he should not be there.
No, should have been.
Then he
somebody
maybe
else.
shouldn't be marking
Thiago
it. But
Silva
then that's the whole the orchestra of the Brazilian defense. Then should have communicated better. We can continue to depict every single problem, what went wrong on that goal. The fact of the matter is, it went in, and we can depict what was wrong on the second goal, because Brazil weren't tracking back properly at times during the game, and they left a lot of room in the central part of midfield. Romelu Lukaku exploited that, passed it off to De Bruyne, and the goal came. Yeah. And it was a problem for that midfield group, like Paulinho and Fernandinho. They just couldn't seem to get themselves with it in the right position.
Yeah, he was awful all tournament for me though, Fernandinho. I don't think he deserved to be in that lineup. But credit to Brazil, they poured it on in the second half, and they were unlucky, probably more unlucky not to find more goals than they did.
I think Paulinho didn't even play for a lot of the games during their qualification. It was Renato Augusto who scored the header.
It was beautiful.
And I don't know why you would end up changing a system that was working for you in the qualifying, because they dominated. They were already qualified a couple, I think maybe even a year before everybody else did.
Yeah, they
right?
dominated. They were first by a while.
Why would you end up changing your players who took you there?
And you saw that Renato Augusto really made a difference when he came onto the pitch, and it could have changed the complexity of the game had you have started him, or had you have substituted him at the beginning of half. I do want to change it back to Belgium for just 1 second. Eden Hazard completed all 10 of his dribbles against Brazil, the most attempted by a player, with a 100% success rate in a World Cup match since 1966. And I mean, I know the energy of this World Cup, for whatever reason, is going back to 1966 all the time. This is why, when I said at the beginning, if the stars were aligned, is the World Cup coming home? We'll get to that after. But Eden Hazard has been incredible this World Cup for me. He really has. And if he's not scoring all the time, it shouldn't be too much of a criticism because he's always involved within the play. Same with Romelu Lukaku. Yes, he didn't score against Brazil, but his play that game and what he did was incredible. And even against Japan, he was really good against Japan. And De Bruyne is now coming to life a little bit. This Belgium attack is looking progressively better and better. And now they're going up against France, which, funny enough for Thierry Henry, he's going to have a team to cheer for, regardless of who wins. But I think for Thierry Henry's position, I would believe that he would want to be a part of a World Cup winning team as a coach as well. I think that maybe he would want to be with Belgium in the final. I don't know. What do you guys think? Considering that even Eden Hazard admitted that in 1998 he used to cheer for France. Mm-hmm. Now he's playing with Belgium. Now Thierry Henry was a former player for France. Now he's the second assistant coach for Belgium.
Well, yeah, I think Belgium, there's no doubt Belgium are peaking right now, and they're peaking at the right time, and usually that's the team who goes on to win or at least makes the finals. But same could be said for France. You know, they started very slow in this tournament, and they've turned it on. So I think the keys for Belgium are obviously Hazard, De Bruyne, and then Courtois as well at the back, the last line of defense for them. And he was outstanding. You know, he was in a different class last game, and I think he is a great goalkeeper. There's no doubt in my mind. So after Brazil left, there's just four out of the remaining 6 nations have never won a World Cup. So we're most likely going to see a nation get their first star in their jersey.
Yeah, it's 3 out of the 4, right? Because France won
3 out of the 4 now. So yeah, after this game it was 4 out of 6. Yeah.
So there's 75% chance that somebody wins their first World Cup, right? And like I said when the tournament was going to you, in the conversation that we had, like it's been a weird, like a great, probably one of the best World Cups that I've ever seen, but it's also been a really weird one where it looks like somebody's going to be winning their first World Cup just because of all the things that have been happening and all the giants falling out early.
I like that surprise element of a World Cup where you have a new winner now. And it's great for the sport in general because, again, it goes back to the unpredictability factor that we discussed in the first and second episode where you don't know what's going to happen. It's good for the other nations that are getting involved. A nation like Croatia, for example, that is just a tiny nation. And the fact that you can put together a team that is now in a semifinal, potentially on the brink of a World Cup final, that's good for you. Belgium, again, a small nation, the golden generation of football. Same thing with Croatia. Golden generation of football is now on the brink of a World Cup final against nations that have only won the tournament once. So it's not like these nations have been here too many times before. I mean, England have made their first semifinal since 1990. The last time France made a semifinal was 2006. So we're seeing teams that don't really get here too often that are now in the position to bring their countries home a title.
Yeah, it's really good for the sport and good for the tournament as a whole because it brings parity to this. It brings parity to the World Cup, and it's needed. If we saw another Germany-Spain final or Germany anybody, you know, or Germany-Brazil, like
people
would be nice. It'd be great games, obviously, but
people will tune out. It's like, it's the same teams
it's
always
the same
winning,
old
right?
story, right? Just like how we see in the NBA with LeBron versus the Warriors every year. So you need the parity in the sport, and I think it's really good.
Yep, we're going to see a good austerity for these teams to go into these matches, and we're going to see some stern faces and some really serious faces that are going to be on the pitch. Now, one more thing, just about the Brazil-Belgium game. Just one more, and then we're going to move on to the France and Uruguay one because we need to move on with these games. Was that a penalty? Gabriel Jesus is in the box. He takes a touch with the ball. He swivels it around Vincent Kompany. Kompany fouls him. The ball is out of bounds. What's your take?
I thought that was a penalty. He ended up clipping him anyways. I know the ball's going out, but Kompany should know that the ball's going out, so just shield it.
And that for me is why it's not a penalty. I was with my boy Brandon, and we were sitting there, and at first glance, he thought it was a penalty. Just because yes, Kompany did hit him, but there's not enough there, and he's pushing the ball out of bounds. You know what? If Kompany is not there, he's still pushing the ball. If Kompany doesn't hit him, he's still pushing the ball out of bounds. So there can't be a penalty call if there's no chance of him even getting the ball on the other side.
I agree. There's no opportunity to create the play after that, and I think that's why it was the correct call.
He didn't take away a goal-scoring opportunity for me.
Well, so if he wasn't there, you're telling me he wouldn't have made a goal scoring opportunity?
He was there, but if he didn't make the tackle, is what I'm saying.
The ball would have gone out of bounds anyway. The touch was too heavy.
I don't know, man. If you, it's a foul is a foul inside the box is a penalty. He
No, but
fouled
it's
him
not
in
a
the
foul.
box.
It's not a foul.
If he did that outside the box, he's not gonna call a foul.
If he's pushing it out of play for a throw in, then that's not a foul.
I've seen less given.
I think outside the box, you would have called it.
So then, what's the difference? Just
the
because it's
difference
inside
is
the
because
box?
you're giving because you are
A foul's a
allowing the
foul.
opportunity for a free kick to create a different chance. But I think because it is in the penalty
The
area
opportunity was
and you're
already
kicking
gone.
it out of bounds already, I think that the referee changed the call. Look, we all know watching the sport that a foul inside the box and outside of the box are completely different stories. And as much as it could be under criticism, as much as it is sometimes the wrong decision, it's unfortunately the reality of the sport. I mean, if you give a foul for pushing somebody in the middle of the field, and the referee gives that, the exact same foul in the box he won't give because there's the severity element as well. That how severe is this foul and how deeply could it change this game? Had
Yeah.
Brazil have got that penalty, it would have changed the game.
For sure, but I think if you're gonna call a foul, just because it's a foul inside the box, and you're not gonna call it just because it's a penalty, then that's not fair either. The player should know better not to push, not to kick, not to. You're in the box, you gotta know better.
To be a penalty, you have to be taking away a goal scoring opportunity, and Company didn't do that.
Not necessarily. There's been penalties called where there's a foul like right in the inside of the corner of the box. The guy gets a foul there. That's a penalty. It's not a goal scoring opportunity, but he's in the box.
Because he still, if the foul was not made, then he still has the chance to create that opportunity. But the ball was going out of play, and if Jesus took the touch the other way, instead of going outside, he went inside. Then then that's a penalty 100%. But his touch took him out of bounds, and you can't do nothing. I'm sorry.
Let's agree to disagree then.
I think we're going to have to do that. Now, France versus Uruguay. I mean, I saw something that in 2014, Raphael Varane conceded the header in the quarterfinals against Germany that led to the winning goal. He now is on the good side of a header, scoring for France in this quarterfinal and gets the winning goal. Fernando Muslera, who I terribly feel bad for, leading up to the match, Muslera lost his uncle in a car crash. 2 days later, he was devastated by the news of his grandmother passing away. It's a tough time. I mean, our condolences go out to Muslera and his family. That goal he conceded against Griezmann, there is a little bit of a backstory behind that now that we realize...
I'm sorry, that can't happen, though.
I know it can't happen, but imagine you are in Muslera's position and all this stuff happens to your family. How you deal with it is very difficult. It really changes how focused you are in the match and how well you play. I mean, look, John Obi Mikel, for the Nigeria-Argentina game, prior to the match, he found out that his father was kidnapped. How do you play? It's very difficult to play with that on your mind. And I mean, for the most part, I felt that game was fairly even. France didn't really dominate, and Uruguay really kept up with them. I mean, there wasn't too big of a gap. The only problem was the loss of Edinson Cavani. I mean, Christian Stuani did a decent job as the striking partner for Luis Suarez, but a decent job because, I mean, you go into this tournament now trying to fill the shoes of Edinson Cavani. You don't play with Luis Suarez that often. How are you supposed to fare going into the match when the chemistry is not there? It's like putting Fernandinho with Brazil when Renato Augusto was doing better.
A decent job for me would have been them creating opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe not scoring, okay, but at least create opportunities. And for me, Uruguay didn't. And it's clear, that Suarez didn't even have a touch in their France's penalty area. So he didn't register a shot. So they didn't create anything. Everything that would go through, every attacking thing that Uruguay would need to win would have to go through Luis Suarez. And they didn't do that. There was nothing. So I think the loss to Cavani was detrimental to their campaign. And there's no recovering after that because the partnership of Cavani and Suarez was so lethal, as we saw. And Stuani just isn't at that quality yet. He might get there. He's a great young talent, but he's not there yet. And it was clear. And I think that just killed any confidence Uruguay had when they found out Cavani was not going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, I agree with the confidence. I mean, you can't preclude injuries from any sport really, and the loss of Cavani was so crucial to their team and how they played and how they approached this game. I felt they approached it very well in the first half. Second half, you really saw that, their energy was slowing down, their confidence was really starting to get to their heads, that they probably said to themselves, "Oh, wow, we might not be able to do this at this point."
For me, France seemed like they controlled the whole game from beginning to end. They were just that midfield. Conte and Pogba were winning every
Pogba
battle.
was brilliant, yeah.
I think they're starting to click too in the perfect timing because they're getting a Belgium team that's starting to click as well. I know they were being criticized in the beginning, but right now they just seem to be picking up the pace and stepping into a different gear. And for me, Uruguay just didn't. They really missed Cavani and they weren't threatening at all. And then that beautiful header by Varane, that just showed that they were in control the whole game.
Yeah, 42% of the goals in this World Cup have come from set pieces now, which is the record. As obviously it's not done yet, but only 36%, which is the next highest, came from set pieces in the 1998 World Cup. So a huge difference there, and really the storyline, because France were dominant, but they couldn't break through the Uruguay backline, and then it took a header from Varane, a great header from Varane, to open the scoring. But I got to give Uruguay some credit to Lucas Torreira, who looks to be an Arsenal player today. A great signing for them. I love his play. And he really shut down Mbappe there in the middle. He was on him every touch, didn't let him breathe. So it looked like Uruguay did do their homework and watch the film from the Argentina game, because they really shut him down well. And I think Belgium's going to have to do the same.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to credit Lucas Torreira as well, that he's really developing into a great midfielder, being a part of Sampdoria all year and now on the verge of being an Arsenal player, just like you said. I mean, now France have gone 9 matches unbeaten, and that's a good record. I mean, that's something that you really approach it with confidence. I mean, Belgium have a record as well. I think now it is 22 matches unbeaten, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I said that before about Belgium. I could be wrong. I could be thinking about another
I don't
team.
listen to you.
I'm not impressed.
Don't shake your head at me,
buddy. I'm shaking my head and giving you a very stern facial reaction at this present
It's
moment.
the look my mom gives me.
If looks could kill, right?
It's the same look.
That's mine right now. That's mine. Sorry, Dev. But yeah, I mean, I think that this semifinal between France and Belgium is going to be
Juicy.
Wow, way to finish my sentence. Yeah, juicy. Okay, we'll
hate
go with
this
that
kid's
one.
laugh.
I don't know where he's getting all these words from. I think he's stealing it off.
No.
somebody.
I heard
Lack of credibility
commentators
here.
copying my words during
Lack
the game.
of credibility over here. But yeah, this one is going to be, I think, the most intense. It could be less scoring than the other one. I think that the Croatia-England game could be more open, considering that both of the teams would be more attacking. This one can be more tactical. Definitely more
Can
tactical.
go either way, I think. Yeah.
Well, who do you got for this one?
Just to finish up, I did want to talk about, before we get into all the predictions, I did want to talk about the Muslera thing you brought up. For me, that's inexcusable. Like, we've seen, obviously, like, my condolences. I'm not trying to sound like I'm not, but, like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, that's a routine catch, a routine save, At least if you can't catch it, because it was a good hit from Griezmann, but at least push it away.
It did start going away from him right at the end, too, if you see
but
it. But you still got to have at least a hand on it.
I don't think there's any excuse, And we've seen excuses for Karius in the Champions League final. There's no excuse, If you have a concussion, go off, If you can't deal with the passing of your family members, then don't play.
Yeah.
If you're on the pitch, you need to give what your team expects from you, And that's to be at least a sturdy enough goalkeeper to make that save.
But I mean, how can Muslera not play? Are you going to play your backup now, along with Cavani
That's up to
being
him.
out?
That's up to him.
That is, you want to talk about losing Cavani being detrimental? That's catastrophic if you're going to lose your number one goalie now. Like, then Uruguay would have no confidence at that point.
Then you have to deal with. Then you have to be able to deal with it. I hate to bring up the NBA again, but we saw Isaiah Thomas a couple playoffs ago. Lose his sister the night before a playoff game, and he had the best night of his career. So
it's normally when you end up playing better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Obviously, they're different people, and everybody's different. But some people can use that to motivate them to have an amazing performance, and then as we saw with Muslera, it can really destroy anything. So it's really up to the player, and you have to decide yourself. It's not up to the coaching staff. It's not up to anybody else. You have to look at yourself and be like, can I handle it? You know, can I deal with this and still put in a great performance? You know, because there's no denying it's a lot to handle.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
And he's had a great World Cup. It's just this one mistake now is just what people are going to remember, unfortunately.
It taints his whole World Cup at this point.
It's like when Robert Green blundered it in 2010, and everyone remembered him for that.
Yeah.
I know. It is very difficult. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. I know it's difficult, and if you are comfortable with playing the game, go out and play the game. I just think that, yes, Muslera should have had it 100%. It's a routine stop for a goalie that's just done it year after year for Uruguay. He's been incredible for Uruguay. He's done everything for that Uruguay backline when it just had Diego Godin. Before, when there was no one else, and when Godin had nobody else beside him, and it was just him and Cáceres, and now they have Jimenez, and that defense was looking really good. And yes, you have to step up. You got to at least stop that.
And that save, speaking of goalies, just change it a little bit. That Lloris save on the Cáceres header early in the game.
Amazing.
Just a Superman dive save.
Beautiful
Like
save.
He defied gravity on that one.
And then there was still a rebound. Then Godin was on top of it. He was right there to get the rebound.
I didn't understand why Godin blasted it, though. Why blast it? You're right in front of the net. Poke it over Hugo Lloris. There was no need to blast the ball 50 feet into the air. Like, what are we in the NFL? We're firing for a field goal?
His eyes probably just opened and lit up, and he's like, I'm getting this, and then just get too excited in his eyes,
and he just punted the ball to the Uruguay fans. Here, have a souvenir.
Yeah, well, it might have lit the fire under France to really like push them forward, because that was just moments before they opened the scoring. So that might have been a little wake up call for them. But as you said, prediction, I'm gonna take France in this one. It's two heavyweights that this really could be the final in any tournament. And if Belgium lose that game against England, then it would be, I think.
Imagine an England-France final. And think about that for 1 second. Look at the past years of the countries going at war and always hating each other and being arrogant towards one another. And the French think they're the best, and then the English vice versa. It can be an incredible final. Like with the rivalry between the fans in the fighting in the stands. Oh, okay, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but imagine that one. That might be more entertaining than the game.
Nah, you should never fight in the stands.
Yeah, for me,
tell that to all the ultras in Europe.
I know, but it's still ugly.
It seems France is destined to be in this World Cup final, and it's going to take another huge Pogba performance like he put in against Uruguay, just winning the balls in the midfield and really bossing it. He's really going to need to shadow De Bruyne, much like Torreira did, all match in order for Belgium to even have a chance in this one. For France to have a chance in this one. Both teams are hitting their stride at the right time, so I think it's setting up to be a great match. But I'm giving that just to France because I think they just have a little bit more talent than Belgium do, and I think they're a little bit more cohesive in that fact as well.
I'm taking France as well, actually. Last time they made it to the World Cup final was when they also made it to the semifinals, which was in 2006. But I think this time they compared to Belgium, Belgium's defense, I don't think, will handle France's attack. Belgium kind of got lucky against Brazil. Brazil just wasn't able to finish. But I think, Griezmann, Giroud, Mbappe, and then with that midfield is just going to be too much for Belgium to handle. And unfortunately, it's not unfortunately, but I'm picking France to move on.
I'm going against you guys. I'm taking the underdog. I'm going with Belgium. And I think that you're talking about Pogba, marking De Bruyne. But what if Fellaini comes on? Pogba's got to deal with him because he's the tallest. That takes the focal point away now from Kevin De Bruyne, and I think, the fluidity of their attack will be damaging to France's defense. I mean, this can go either way. We talk about shaky defenses. I mean, France's defense hasn't been all that great in the knockout rounds. I mean, they got lucky not playing Cavani and Suarez together. I think that would have been a more entertaining game from the neutral perspective, but also for Uruguay's success at that time. And I think, that the midfield clash between both of these teams is going to be heavy.
Mm-hmm.
The defenses are both pretty shaky, I think. But for the better goalie, Thibaut Courtois for me over Hugo Lloris to get the job done. And their counterattacks, I mean, Dries Mertens, you can bring on Carrasco. I think that Belgium's got a little bit more. Now moving on, we got Sweden and England for the other quarterfinal match. As Devin gives me a weird look, I don't know what he's doing.
I
over
was
there
very
on that other
confused.
side. Yeah, I think he's looking at his notes and he
I
wrote them
was-
wrong, which I wouldn't be surprised.
I was
Anyway,
very lost.
so yeah, I mentioned England scored 11 goals in this World Cup, like they did in '66. Out of all the goals, I mean, the most crucial thing was Harry Maguire to get them going.
Yeah.
I mean, that really changed the momentum. And from what I saw throughout the game, the match was not entertaining by any means in the first half. And there was not much being created on both sides. And when Maguire scored, from a neutral fan, you still didn't jump up because there was still nothing going on.
Well, yeah,
even though he
you
scored.
thought
The energy
Sweden
was
would
weird.
Show
come
up.
Yeah, after
They
that.
didn't show up at all.
But yeah, it was a really disappointing performance from Sweden. But take nothing away from England. I think this game was more about England than anything. Coming off such a high after winning their first ever penalty shootout at the World Cup, I think it takes a lot of credit for them to just their second ever.
I believe it's their second, yeah. As I
Okay,
pointed,
my bad.
the double finger. I believe they won in 1990, one of the penalty shootouts, and then they lost
There
the
you go.
semifinal against Germany.
That's why you
penalty
get
shootout.
that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Paid the big bucks. I keep paying the big bucks. What do you mean?
But yeah, so they came off such an incredible high, and to refocus against a very disciplined and organized Sweden team it takes a lot of credit for them. And this England team, I haven't been fully impressed by them yet. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just me, but I've not been fully impressed by them in their games. But they have done enough to win, and sometimes you don't need a lot to win a World Cup. If you think, but you just need a couple lucky bounces, some aerial threat, as we've seen in this World Cup. After this game, they've scored 8 out of their 11 goals from set pieces, so they've gotten the right calls. Obviously, all the Harry Kane penalties. So it doesn't take too much to win a World Cup. So it's just about the right timing, playing the right team at the right time, and obviously England have done that so far.
For me, it was just Sweden was just really lackluster. They didn't seem to wanted to attack at all. They were just passing the ball. They didn't really have any threat at all. And then England just took advantage of their opportunities that they got, and they ended up scoring the 2 goals from headers. But for me, it was just really disappointing from Sweden because I thought they would have come out with more hunger and just probably try to do a little bit more than what they ended up doing, and that's why they're going home.
Especially being the underdogs,
Yeah.
You think you come out with a little bit more fire under your belly.
Especially when no one's expecting you to be this far and you've reached this far and now you're not
So
doing
you might
much.
as well go all out. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So
I just want to correct myself. No, they didn't. England did not go to a shootout in 1990 against Cameroon. See, this is why I don't get
I
paid
was
the big
right.
bucks. I think the salary
I
gets
was
chipped
right.
off of my pay all the time because of these. Yes, you were right. It was in the semis. I knew it was in the
my mom's
semis.
gonna be
I
so
thought.
proud of me.
Yeah, I'm sure about that one. Yeah, I just wanted to correct that. I thought I saw in the quarters that they did go to penalties. They didn't. It was just the semis.
But yeah, so also just ending off with this game because I don't think there's too much else to talk about in this one.
This one, there's on this side of the bracket. I don't think there's really much to have spoken about in the first place, aside from, moving on to Croatia in just a second and their run of form in the finals. It was always about the heavyweight side. On that left side, there's always stuff to talk about with the heavyweight teams. We can go on for hours.
Yeah,
we
so
normally do anyway in the group
definitely.
chat that we have. Hours and hours of talking.
Definitely, the Ali goal after the Dele Ali goal, he became England's 5th scorer at the World Cup, and depth is huge at this World Cup. I'm not sure how many people scored for Italy in 2006, but it was probably
11
around,
different goal scorers in 2006
so
for Italy.
It's incredible.
Man had that stat at the top of his head, eh?
I have the poster.
No.
I had the poster in my room for years, and I would look at it and I'd count all the names. It was always 11.
I think
just
today,
forever remember that
today's
number.
the date in 2006 when
Italy won the World Cup.
So
Oh,
12 years ago today.
good job,
Little
boys.
reminiscing.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
We'll have to reminisce a little bit. But yeah, moving on to the Croatia game. I think that was the best game of the round for me. And this second time in a row, Rakitic got left the duties to take the final penalty, and he slotted it away so effortlessly. It looks like think about the amount of pressure on your shoulders, not only to do it once but to do it twice.
I have a question though. Do you think it's always smart to leave him as last? Because, for example, I think there was a Euro where Ronaldo was 5th and he didn't even get to shoot because they didn't make it that
I
far.
believe it was against Spain, right? In
Yes, it was
2012.
against Spain. So do you think it's smart leaving him last twice? The way he shoots a penalty so calm, so cool.
Yes. Yes, because you need a closer. It's
Yeah.
like going into the ninth inning with a pitcher in baseball. Do you put your best guy out, or do you put one of your best guys out that has a calm mentality, knows how to finish? You would take the guy who knows how to finish,
And that's
and that's
why
Rakitic.
that's why I had no problem with when Portugal left Ronaldo to take the 5th penalty, even though he didn't get to take one. But like I had no problem with that. And a team like Croatia, they have so many players that can stroke a penalty so nicely. You know, obviously you saw Modric miss one and then get really, really lucky against Russia with Akinfeev doing basically everything right. You know,
It's just the
he
lucky
got a
bounce.
huge hand on it to put it off the post, and then it bounced in. Like,
Yeah, and it
you know,
goes
there's
into the
nothing
net.
you
Yeah.
can do at that
So
point.
disappointing.
It's just the gods telling you, like,
Yeah.
this is destiny for Croatia to move on.
But credit to Russia, though, because they've been hosting a great tournament. It's probably one of the best tournaments, like I said earlier, that I've ever seen. And they came out. People were not expecting them to come this far. I think people did expect them to leave the group, but, you know, they came this far. They played like gave everything, but unfortunately, that's the draw of the penalties. A little bit of luck.
Yeah, just even the entertainment factor. I just want to touch on that for 1 second. When you watch the World Cup on TSN and CTV, that video prior to going into the studio, before Luke Wildman and Stephen Caldwell and Christian Jack speak, that introductory video is actually the most entertaining video for soccer that I've seen thus far. It is. It gets you into it. You feel the emotion rush through your veins. You feel everything about the World Cup that you are supposed to feel. When the commentary comes on, you feel it, and that's just the energy of what this tournament provides. It's like no other, and it's the best part about it. For Croatia, I think they are the team in the World Cup to win back-to-back penalties, and that takes a lot of composure to win back-to-back penalties. However, on the downslope of that, they've played 240 minutes of football in 2 games. And, I mean, we won't skip to the predictions just yet, but that's why I think that England really have an advantage here. Stale legs from Croatia, tired legs from players Modric, Rakitic, Brozovic, Mandzukic. They've all played in these games. Their back line as well. With Versalco, who's apparently out now. He's not even going to be playing in the next game. Huge loss for Croatia. Dejan Lovren and Dogo Mojvida. And their goalie, credit Subasic as well. He got injured.
I thought he
he
tore
went
his
through it.
hamstring.
Same.
Yeah,
I thought his hamstring was
He
cooked.
went through that injury. He played. He got injured again in extra time, and he played. And credit
pulled
to
through.
him. He pulled through, and he did the job for Croatia despite being injured.
No, like I've had a hamstring injury last year.
No way you'd get up from that.
Dog,
We've seen your hamstring hurt.
you saw how black and blue it was?
Ugly sight. I don't know how you played after that.
But yeah, no, like I thought it was torn for sure. I thought he was done, and
The way he was holding it and screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too.
obviously you get an extra sub once you move into extra time. But for the remaining, what was it, maybe 5 minutes, they would have had to put someone else in. But all credit to him because he saved the penalty as well to set up the Rakitic winner.
I believe he's the goalie with the most penalties saved in a World Cup now.
Yeah, he's somewhere close, I think. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's the top, but I think he's somewhere close there. For me, this game exceeded its expectations. Like, I didn't think too much of it. You know, Russia maybe would come up very defensively, but seeing that Denis Cheryshev goal to brush aside Rakitic and run past Modric so easily, it's incredible. And then just take the shot out of nowhere and just, I had a feel like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if you guys had the same thing, but as soon as I left his foot, I thought it was going to do what it did and curl into the top bins. So all credit to him. Like, it's going to be very hard for me to deny his performances this World Cup and see him not move to a bigger club, as we've seen before, and as we've seen Golovin, his teammate, being scouted
Linked,
by being linked with all these other big teams.
It's the magic of the World Cup. When you're hot, your name really sticks out, right?
Yeah.
And he's having one of the best tournaments you can ever probably dream of.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
What's up?
Cheryshev has a great tournament, right? Now, should that actually affect his transfer value, like big time,
Of course.
or should it
It definitely will.
not?
Oh, it will. Teams,
You
he'll
say
just
it will, but should it?
Should it? Because we remember James Rodriguez made a name for himself, and thank God he did not become a one-season wonder, because he's been consistent in club football. He's been good for Colombia. He's a star, no question about it. Cheryshev has been a star for Russia in this tournament. Prior to that, He
No
hasn't
one's heard
done
his
much
name.
in club football.
I've never heard of him.
We never really heard his
in
name.
my life. So
So should that affect his transfer value drastically? I don't think so. I think that he does definitely earn a bit of a pay raise, but nothing astronomical. Teams should be offering maybe 25 million, 30 million at best.
but that's still a good.
Still
It's a
great-
good
that's
amount. Yes,
great
it's a good
amount.
amount.
Obviously,
But teams
he's
may
not.
go and offer 55 million, 60 million, and I think that's just
Well, he
way
scored
too
what
much.
2 or 3 wonder goals this tournament, a couple worldies for him, and it's, that takes, and to perform on the highest stage at the
Yeah,
World Cup,
that's what I
like
was gonna say.
who can say, like he had a better. I think he's had probably one of the best tournaments out of anybody, out of any
Mm-hmm.
star at this World Cup. So it's gonna. I think it should. For athletes to perform at the high. We always criticize athletes that don't perform at the highest level, at the highest stage. So I think when an athlete does, I think he deserves to be rewarded for that.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think he deserves it. He's just been on fire this whole tournament, and kudos to him, and he deserves whatever he has coming for him, right?
How much does he go for?
Oof. In this market, you can never ever guess. It's too inflated right now.
Yeah, it is a lot, considering that 100 million euros is pocket change for a lot of teams in the market right now.
Yeah, going back to the match though, the play from Mario Fernandes, the Brazilian-born Russian. I never heard of that in my life. A Brazilian-born Russian. Where do you find that?
Yeah, I don't think you find
He
that.
ended up deciding he wanted to play for Russia a few years ago.
Well, yeah,
Well, I
'cause
mean,
he couldn't get in the
he had a
Brazil
chance to get
side.
into the starting lineup, and voila, he's been playing
Yeah.
for the Russian national team as a
I
starter.
think he was awful. Besides from the amazing goal, the amazing header he scored, another set piece, and then he looked like the donkey he is again. It's an awful penalty. And
Yeah, that was
Completely
brutal.
missed the
I
net.
That
know-
reminded me of the Simone Zaza penalty,
Like-
where he tiptoed to the ball and then
like-
just skied it over the bar. It's like, what are you
you
doing?
can't have that. At least hit the target, or at least
At least get
the
the
way
goalie
he-
to save it or
the
something.
way he struck the ball was like it looks like he kicked it off the ground and he kicked it. Oh, it's awful. But yeah, like we said, the real hero for me is the Croatian keeper, and that's
Definitely.
gonna be huge going forward to see if he's okay, if that hamstring is okay. And obviously, like you said, Versalco, the right back, it looks like he might not play with his knee injury, so obviously that would be a huge loss. They do have Corluka who can come in, who has been there for a long time,
Yeah.
and he's experienced.
Yep, he's got a good experience.
But obviously, Versalco has been really good this tournament. Him and Strinic have really performed well, running the flanks for them. So it's going to be a great match going forward.
All right, prediction: Croatia or England?
I'm taking
Me?
Croatia. I'm sticking with
Yeah, get
with
the
my dark
Portuguese.
horse. I gotta correct myself though. There's 2 out of the 4 teams have not won a World Cup, so I'm taking Croatia to beat England. I just think that I know they played a lot of minutes, but that midfield is still for me one of the best ones. And the way that they just keep running and they don't stop. Like Modric, even though he's been playing all these minutes, it was the end of extra time and he was still running up and down that field like he had 4 lungs. Like he just doesn't
I
stop.
don't understand it. Like, he didn't look tired.
No, not at
No, he
all. He was
didn't.
barely breaking a sweat, and I just think England really haven't been tested, right? Like, okay, they played Sweden, a good team, but Sweden didn't show up. Colombia was without James. They played Belgium, but it was both of their B teams, and I just think maybe Croatia's gonna have too much for England to handle, and I'm taking Croatia.
Dev?
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Croatia. It looks like it's their destiny, maybe to win the whole thing. I just want to highlight Mandzukic again, or not again, but Mandzukic and Modric, as Nelson mentioned. Mandzukic is having a great tournament. He seems to always look like the hardest worker on the pitch. Like he's running himself into the ground, and even though he looked gassed he looked completely gassed at the end of the
He
game.
fell right. He was just tired.
But deservedly so. Like, how many strikers do we see play full 90 all the time, or full 120 for 2 games in a row? So it takes a lot. And so all credit goes to him. This is another very evenly matched battle for me, just to a lesser degree than the France-Belgium game. Obviously, I don't think these 2 teams are as talented as France and Belgium, but both very evenly matched, I think. And they both deserve to be here. I'm picking Croatia. I hope my girlfriend's mom doesn't kill me. She has England in her work pool, so I hope she doesn't kill me in that one. But they impressed me once again with their character going down, Croatia. And they really seem to be a team of destiny, winning 2 penalty shootouts in a row. The last team to win 2 shootouts in a World Cup were Argentina, and they lost in the finals. But just to get to the finals for Croatia would be a huge accomplishment and the best finish they've ever had at a World Cup. So, and then this could be regarded as their golden era, because we saw in past they've had great teams, and then they had the drop off for a little bit, but they do have a couple injury concerns, as we mentioned, and that's going to be huge for me if their goalie is 100%. If Versalco can't go, can Karluka fill his shoes? And obviously, are they going to be too tired, as you mentioned, as I'm sure you're going to mention soon. So we'll see, but I'm picking Croatia for this one.
I'm going against you guys again. I'm taking England. And look, within their history of the national team, there seemed to be a hiatus at one point. A break in the story when all English fans thought there was going to be a World Cup for them. With the Beckham, Owen, Rooney, Frank Lampard, Gerrard, Terry, Ferdinand, that team, and even the 98 team, there was an expectation. They failed. This one, they're all young. They have nothing to lose, and they're all hard workers. And look, just like you guys said, they have not played the greatest football. I'm not denying that. I think that England could have been better at times and could have, moved the ball around better and been a little more communicative on the pitch. But the bottom line is they get the job done. Just like you said, Nelson, past podcast. No matter how you get it done, you get it done. And that's what England have been doing. And they have a world-class striker in Harry Kane. They got good midfielders in Dele Alli that have shown up. Lingard. I mean, Rashford's got to come on for me if they want to really challenge Croatia. And if they want to give Karluka a lot of problems, bring on Rashford, because Sterling hasn't been that great. I think that the stars are aligning for them, that we're referencing the 66 World Cup, where they've scored 11 goals. They're getting the job done. I really think that England can actually go all the way with this one. Win it all? I don't know. We'll have to see what the vibe is after.
Give us the hot take, man. Is it coming home?
Okay, you know what? It's coming home. For my buddies out there, it's coming home. They've been going crazy. They've been blowing up my group chat on WhatsApp like no tomorrow. But you know what? For them, I think I'm going to take them against Croatia.
So the next one then, France, Belgium. Who you guys got?
I already said.
We went through that one.
Yeah,
already.
I said France.
I never said anything.
You said France. Do you not remember?
You want
Are you half
I want to say France again.
say France.
Vive la France.
So then we're gonna see a France-Croatia final.
That's my pick. France, Croatia.
Belgium, England. I'm going against you
Belgium
guys.
and
I
England,
can't
eh?
agree with you guys.
Either way, I think the finals is setting up to be a great match, and either way, whether you get France in the final, Belgium, or Croatia, or England, it doesn't matter. I think it's going to be an outstanding match, and if England can knock off Croatia, who have played so well this whole tournament, I think they definitely deserve to be there in the finals. And then France and Belgium, it's like we said, it's a heavyweight battle, and both these teams are peaking at just the right time.
Someone's moving something in the other room, and this entire floor has shook. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to know what's going on.
a ghost.
Yeah, we're in our school and in the studio.
I
and
thought it was a ghost.
the journalism room is right next to us, and someone is messing around in there. God only knows what they're doing.
I thought my life was in danger.
I got one more question before we end off the show.
What is it?
Out of these 4 teams, does anyone not deserve to be there? And if you can think about it, was there ever a team that's been in the semifinals that maybe didn't deserve to be there?
I'm going to go with no. If you made it this far, you deserve to be here. It doesn't matter which way you came and what teams you beat, who you didn't beat. If you made it, you deserve to be there. So that's my answer to your question.
I agree, but just to answer the question, just to play along, I'll say England. Not because of the competition they've had to play against, because I think Colombia was a good test. I think Sweden was a good test, and I think England handled them well. But just maybe the goals they've scored for me, they haven't really created. Like, it's all come from set pieces, basically, like 8 out of 11, like I've said. So there's been a lot of penalties, and there's been a lot of lucky bounces for them. And I think as a team, like, it's hard to have a weak point on the team and make it this far. And I think Raheem Sterling really is still that weak point, who has completely underperformed to the fullest. I think England's back line has shown a lot, and I think Pickford has bailed them out a lot, as we've seen. So I want to say no, but England, if anybody, yeah.
Okay, it's good answers. I would just agree in the sense that sometimes teams don't deserve to be there. I don't think England they're not deserving to be there, but I believe there are some teams that approach a semifinal. For example, South Korea were playing Germany in 2002. I mean, the matchups that they were playing against, I mean, defeating Italy and then defeating Spain. Mm-hmm. Now you're going up against Germany. Are you really going to make it? Was it all deserving? I mean, lots of controversy within that particular World Cup. And look, we can go on to say that. Did that 98 Croatia team really deserve to go all the way? Did that 94 Sweden team deserve to become in third place? There's always the name, but then on the flip side, it's the beauty of having a different team in the World Cup. And that's what we love, and that's what we enjoy to see. And that's why I'm only agreeing slightly because, again, just like Nelson said, if you make it there, you make it there. You deserve to be there. No matter how far no matter how long the road was, no matter how long the work, you deserve to be there. You deserve to be there, and that's the bottom line. So tune in to the games tomorrow. Remember, 2 o'clock is the starting time. France and Belgium. Be sure to watch it. I mean, it's going to be a good one. And then Croatia against England on Wednesday. This is 12 Yards Out. I'm Robert Bellardi, along with Devin Emery, Nelson Santo, and our technical producers, Matthew Stevens. Check out the games, guys, and enjoy the rest of the FIFA World Cup this week, and enjoy the consolation match and the finals.
I got the white ice, I can't do wrong. I got the black AP, the Patek a two-tone. I done went colorblind, I don't get my shine on. Yeah. How I'm feeling.